Hello and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, which originally came out for the Super Nintendo. Obviously here I got it on Wii U is where I played it on the Virtual Console. Although by the time this video goes up, that probably won't exist anymore. It is also on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Edition. It's on there. But it's not on Nintendo Switch Online yet, as far as I know. So that's I don't know if it's coming there or not. I don't know, but that's the thing. Basically, I played Paper Mario. I loved it. This was its predecessor. I'd seen it played before a bit, and so I already kind of knew some things to expect going in. But it looked fun, and after liking, Paper Mario so much, I figured, well, I'll give this one a shot. And I did start it one other time before and didn't get very far and kind of fell off. This time I played it through, pretty much all in one shot. Not like the same day, but I didn't put it down for months and then come back or anything like that. So this is the review of that, and hopefully the weird shot and the angles and everything and the sound. Hopefully everything's okay in the video. It's a little more bare bones, back to basics type of a recording session here. But I thought having a slightly different backdrop might help. With the lighting and everything, maybe it won't even matter. You can't really see the hat. So I didn't even need to get all duded up for nothing. So Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars is, like the name suggests, it's an RPG based in the Mario universe. It's actually developed by Squaresoft, the people behind the Final Fantasy games, which of course are very popular at the time. Not to say they're not now. They were still a pretty big deal back then. When they were really hitting their stride and becoming a pretty big deal. So, it's got kind of like an isometric type view to it. You'll notice with the there's some moving around and mild platforming in that view. You can walk and run and jump. So there's mild platforming elements in the overworld exploration stuff. But the core of the game is really based around the RPG battles. I guess I should probably start with the story a bit. It's just hard to say much because I don't want to have big spoilers or anything for things that happen. But the basic premise is that one day Mario's going out to save Princess Peach, or I guess Princess Toadstool as they call her here. Weird they changed Bowser to, or Koopa to Bowser for, the US version, but they decided to change Peach to Toadstool again. I don't know. It's a whole thing. That's a whole other can of worms. But, he's going out to save Peach from Bowser, and then all of a sudden in Bowser's Keep, a giant sword appears and blasts everybody out of the castle. They go flying. And now, these people from a gang called Smithy's Gang, a bunch of monsters from there, start coming out of this basically an interdimensional rift in Bowser's Keep, and start taking over the Mushroom Kingdom and all the lands around that whole world. They start trying to take it over. Basically, that's their goal, is to take over that world. They also have a secondary goal of trying to collect the legendary stars, so they can use their power to just make things easier to take over. So Mario actually is trying to stop them, for one. The other thing is that there's apparently these stars are pieces of something called the Star Road, which is something that grants wishes and makes people's wishes come true. So with Star Road damaged and those pieces of it missing, people's wishes no longer come true. So Mario is trying to save the land not only from being taken over, but also to he's trying to get Star Road fixed so everyone's wishes will come true again. And along the way, he befriends multiple people. He does side quests to help other people along the way. Lots of exploring and some mini games and some battling. And of course, there's lots of little pieces of flavor and side stories and all that along the way. So that's I guess more or less the main plot without getting too into spoilers or into the story. It's the stuff that's like, you can just play it and find out for yourself. Gameplay wise, a lot of it is you go into a town, you find out there's a problem, you go go to the place where the problem is and deal with it. Usually, it's on your way to finding those legendary stars. In the combat system, you can have up to 3 people on your party versus however many other enemies. It's turn-based combat, but you can have attacks. There's not really any tactics or anything in it, as far as like moving people around or whatever. They are still just like a more standard turn-based combat where you have timed hits for your attacks. This is a big thing here. That's a big thing that people will talk about, timed hits. So like if you hit attack and you do your basic attack on someone, if you hit A at the right time in the animation, you can do extra damage with those attacks. When people attack you, you can also, if you hit A at the right time, you can reduce the damage taken and sometimes even totally dodge the attacks. Also, if you use your special abilities, there's usually some specific timing you can use for the special abilities to get more damage or health or whatever, have a greater effect out of them than you would normally. But also, special abilities all feed off of one pool of magic known as flower points, so it's all kind of like baked into that, so everybody shares those. There's no switching out people between, during battles, but you can use items during battles as well, or just straight up defend to try and lessen the amount of damage you're going to be taking from attacks. Also with the battle system, you can do things like you can attack single targets. Some things will attack multiple targets. Some items are, consumables for like, one person or the party. Some of them are attacks for attacking one enemy or the whole enemy team, that kind of thing. As far as like status effects, there are a couple interesting ones here with, there's one that will turn you into a mushroom where you can't do anything when you're a mushroom at all. But, you will heal a little bit of health each turn. So you're just a mushroom for a few turns until you turn back, or somebody, uses an item or a special ability or something that can return you. And then there's one that, a status effect that turns you into a scarecrow, where you can't attack and you can't use items, but you can defend or use magic. Again, it lasts for a few turns, and then you'll turn back unless somebody does something to turn you back. Usually when you're for these battles, unless they're scripted battles, like talking to certain characters where you have to fight them, the battles will be had by encountering enemies on the overworld. You touch them, and then you start a battle with, you have some idea of what you're going to be fighting based on the enemy sprite that you walked into. Winning battles can get you stuff like experience points to level up, which ups your stats. When you do that, you also, and like when you get your experience points, all of you have a total of 5 people with you, but only 3 can be with you at a time. But whenever you win a battle, the amount of experience you get is spread evenly throughout all of them. They all get that amount of experience. So everybody can level up as you're going along. And when you level up, you have the choice between 3 different ways to further increase your stats rather than just the base stats that like get upped with each level. So you can pick power, which will up your attack and defense. You can up your special, which will increase your magic attack and your magic defense, or you can upgrade your HP, which is just give you more HP. And also in these battles, if everybody loses all their HP, then you die. It's a game over. You go back to the save point, your last checkpoint there. That's basically how it goes. I believe if somebody goes down in battle, I believe they'll be given 1 HP at the end of the battle. If you win, and then, it's just as a like, hey, well, they didn't, they're not totally dead. But, yeah. There's that. There's also, you can get gold, coin, I guess it's called coins, for, winning battles as well, which you can use in the shops. One of them, you can buy consumables, but you can also buy equipment. As far as how the equipment works, there's, 3 basic types. There's weapons, armor, and accessories. So the weapons are what you use to use your basic attacks. Different weapons, obviously some are stronger than others, but they also have different animations and things with their timed hits. So they'll have different timings on when you're supposed to do those timed hits to maximize damage. The armor is, you just have that on. Usually it's buffing some kind of defense, and a lot of times there are secondary effects of it as well. The accessories are also, again, a lot of times they will have some stat alterations, and also these are more likely to have special effects on them for like passive boosts and whatnot. You can also find a lot of these things in like treasure chests along the way as well, and for completing certain side quests and tasks, oftentimes you'll be rewarded with equipment to help you out, or consumables. And also, most of these things are character specific. Some things can be worn by anyone. Most of the accessories can be worn by anyone, but generally every weapon is specific to a certain character, and most armor is character specific as well, so keep that in mind. Also, between doing the battles, there's and exploring these areas, there also are some mini games you can do. These are just breaking up some of the action with mini games and little things that a lot of times you can go back and do them again for fun. A lot of times being something you do, as a story thing at first, and then you can come back later and do it. Some of them are totally optional. You don't have to do them at all, but they exist in there for you to do. As ways to get extra coins, or there's also frog coins. It's another type of currency in the game that some things can only be bought with frog coins. So there's a variety of things you can do, and different types of rewards you can get for doing them. I think that's more or less, that's the basic thing of just going around and, finding out the story, helping people along the way, quests and side quests, in this isometric view and all that. I think that the game's really good. I think it's really fun. It's something that, the idea of making Mario into an RPG, I'd be like, why would you want to do that? But it is a fun world to kind of do that with. I do think that, I think they did a good job here with having established Mario characters and things, and having them look pretty interesting with, like, the visual style is very, like, this is this era of, like, hey, we can make things look really, it looks really impressive for the Super Nintendo, but, like, outside of this very small window of time, it doesn't necessarily look super impressive. It's very colorful, very nice claymation look to it, but, I will say, like, I think that I want to praise some of, like, the design of, like, other characters that aren't established Mario characters, or aren't established Mario settings and things. I think they did a really good job of, incorporating new ideas into here that both feel like they kind of belong, and also things that feel like they kind of don't. And when they don't belong, it kind of feels that way sort of on purpose. Like, oh, these are from, like, a different world, from people invading, or it's like, these are things that are, like, just weird Easter egg things. They do a good job of making those things. If they feel jarring, it's usually on purpose. It's I think it did a good job with that. The combat system is really interesting. The ability to attack and do extra damage with your attacks, and also to, like, try to evade other attacks, does really keep you involved in the battles, rather than just selecting an attack and be like, here's my strongest attack, I'm going to do that, and wait for it to go out and play out. Also, I think they did a good job to, like, work with that, because your level cap is level 30. You cap out at level 30, so there's not a ton of grinding you need to do in the game. You probably, if you play well, you really don't need to do it at all, but if you just want to hit level 30 to have that help too, there's that option. I like it. I think that's a really good thing, because then it's like, also between the action of, like, just all the combat stuff, is that they have little mini games to break things up, and exploring sections, and, like, some little puzzle things here and there. They have all these little things to do, so that there was a really good mix for, like, the pacing of, like, here's some story, here's some exploring and doing stuff, here's some, like, little mini game things, and here's fighting. While the core of it is still mostly fighting, and that's a big bulk of what you're doing, they break it up enough, and they make it interesting and engaging enough that it never really feels like it doesn't really feel like you're sitting around grinding, doing repetitive stuff. And I don't really mind grinding that much when it's fun, but they just don't have a whole lot of it here, and I think that's kind of cool. I think they did a really good job of keeping the game about playing it actively and having fun and being engaged with stuff, rather than, kind of shutting your brain off to grind for a while and then going back to stuff. There's also a good thing of, like, strategizing as well. There were only a few battles where I really needed to have like a better strategy than like be a high enough level and hit things hard. But the few battles that did test me, it was kind of fun to try different, party configurations with different equipment on, different items. Trying my best to like really, like overcome the difficulty of the battle, rather than just being like, if I just get a high enough level and hit things, I can beat it. Especially like the final battle when I'm already max level, I had to do a little more strategizing there when my main strategy didn't work, because it's like, well, I can't level up anymore, so I need to do that. It's how many Mario games do you get to play as Bowser and Peach? Well, more now, but at the time, that was a thing. That was new. And I don't know. Yeah, just the other I think big thing I do want to say is that the sound design is really good, which is something that surprised me. I don't usually say a lot about that, but like, yeah, there's some really catchy music themes in there too, which is good, especially for like I'm kind of I'm a bit biased in that I don't really like the Super Nintendo sound chip that much. A lot of stuff on there I think sounds kind of like muddy and like muffled, but they picked some good instrumentation for this and stuff for the music, and along with having, because usually the tunes are still catchy. It's just the sound chip. It's just the instrumentation is usually not great. But here I think they did a really good job with it. But more so, even just like the sound design of like the sound effects is really nice, and it's kind of hard to explain, but like, there's a lot of like things that there's like a good variety of stuff, and that sounds like pretty, like, there's very polished sound to it. It doesn't feel like cheap and easy sound effects, right? Some stuff does sound kind of like harsh and like rough, almost like technological tones to it, but other things do sound more like kind of like round, or like very not really tinny, but like very like clicky and like very satisfying. There's like a crisp, I think is the word. They sound very crisp. There's like a good like variety of the way sounds can sound in the game, and like I think that does a really good job of like illustrating what's happening, and it can just make it really satisfying, even just to like go and like navigate menus and other things, like little simple things of like those little touches of those sound effects are just really nice in this game, which really surprised me. But as far as like as far as downsides, oh yeah, another good thing I will mention is the writing. I should probably mention that. There's some pretty funny writing in here. There's like, the writing is like kind of humorous, and like, there's just this tinge, the little like, the hint of like almost going too far with it that's like really funny because they don't. Where it's like, I don't know, there's like a part where like Mario is almost gonna like hit a kid, which is what it looks like. He probably wouldn't actually do it, but like it's a funny concept that he's like, oh, he's really mad, and they're like holding him back or whatever when this kid's like trash talking him or something, or like, I don't know, like there's goofy little things in there, or like some stuff is like almost like dark, but they don't really go into it. But if you think about it, you're like, well, that's a little bit messed up, and it's like that's what's kind of funny about it. Yeah, I don't know, I think, yeah, that's neat. I wanted to mention that quick. As far as downsides for this game, I really wish, the big one is that I really wish they would explain what a lot of your equipment does. A lot of these things have like secondary like things that they do, but they aren't really explained. Sometimes it's just primary things that they do, but they don't explain. They just have a weird description like, oh, this is a thing you wear. And instead of like, there's nowhere in the game that explains to you like, no, these are the extra like things that it does, rather than just giving you like the stat boost that you can physically see when you're switching stuff. I also wish there was a better way for like comparing the equipment and like what they do, like seeing like how much they give you of like stats, rather than having to like equip a thing and then like compare it to equipping a different thing. It's better than just having to equip it and then seeing what your numbers are. They do let you kind of preview your number changes up or down from what you currently are wearing, so there's that. But I feel like they could have gone a little bit further with that, so I didn't really like having to look that up online. I tried to actually stop looking stuff up online for this, other than if I got like a couple things I didn't want to miss out on side quests, but there's a lot of stuff you can miss out on. If you don't have a guide, you're going to miss out on lots of stuff, and I did, by the end, stop looking stuff up so I could just kind of enjoy the game more. And so it's nice that I could, do all the stuff and beat the game without having to get everything in the game, but it's a completionist's nightmare, because there's stuff like there's like these little hidden blocks that you can find, for hidden treasure that you just have to jump in the right spot on the overworld somewhere. And if you don't know where those are, well, like, I mean, basically there is a character that tells you how many of those are left in the game that you can find. But there's one of those that if you don't get it right away in the very beginning of the game before you even know they exist, you can't get all of them because there's one you just can't get anymore. That's dumb. You can't go back and get it later. So that's really frustrating. And there's a lot of like really like obscure, obtuse secret things to find that you probably wouldn't necessarily even find if you weren't looking super hard for them. There's even one thing in there, like there's a whole section, like at least a whole area that like I know exists. People talked about it existing in the game, but I never found it. So I don't know. Maybe I just didn't talk to the right people to keep it going on to that side quest, but obviously you don't need it because I never found it. So it's kind of tough in that way, but it is still at least nice that you don't need to do everything in the game to really get the best experience out of it. You can still just have fun with it for what it is. All the other thing is that the mushroom status element is annoying when an enemy can turn your entire party into mushrooms, because then you just have to sit there and wait for the game to let you have agency to play again, because you can't do anything except watch people keep hitting you. So like that's a little frustrating. It'd be nice if there's a way to speed that up or something. I don't know, because I don't think you can even like, unless I'm just timing it wrong during those times that it happened. I don't even know if you can block stuff during that either. So it's like I don't know. I mean, there are ways to combat that so you can't be turned into a mushroom, but you'd have to know that before getting into that, into that situation. I don't know. It's a whole thing. So I think they could have used some work there, and also some of the platforming is annoying. There's not a ton of it in there that you need to do, and there's not a huge punishment for doing it poorly a lot of the time. But like isometric platforming is just not one of the greatest things to do. And it's hard. It's hard to tell where you're going and what things are with perspectives and stuff in isometric view like that. So they did pretty good for what it is. It's just that what it is kind of like not ideal for action segments. So a lot of action segments are kind of like, all right, well, I'll kind of fiddle with this a bit. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I thought I did it, but I guess not. And that's I don't know. I think that's more or less the downside. There's not like a whole lot of other downsides really to this whole thing. So that's probably I should probably stop. That's probably good. So Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars is really fun. I probably wouldn't put it up there with like thinking of like my immediate like, oh yeah, my top favorite RPGs of all time. I don't think this would go quite that high. It's good. It's probably better than a lot of other RPGs I just don't really like and wouldn't play again. I could see myself playing this again someday. But I think it's, if you're like a fan of like Final Fantasy stuff and you like Super Nintendo, you like Mario, you like RPGs anyways, I think this is an interesting one. If you like Paper Mario games or the Mario and Luigi games, I think this is a good thing to check out to see where that stuff kind of came from. Oh yeah, one other thing I was going to mention about negatives. We'll just say it here. Whatever, fucking, I'm a real person. I forget shit sometimes. It's hard to tell when you're supposed to time those hits for a lot of the things. Like, what point in my animation am I supposed to be hitting things? I don't know. There's no way to really tell. But the timed hits is kind of an interesting thing. Like I said, keeping you engaged. That's the big thing people think of when they think of this game. It's like, oh yeah, the game where you have the timed hits and you can do that. That's cool. I don't know. It's a fun game. It doesn't take way too long or anything. It doesn't try to like stretch out the experience too much. With lots of fun dialogue and little mini games, just things to see and do and explore. And I think there's a lot of replay value in trying to find all the stuff in the game as well if you're looking to do that. But it's a heck of a ride. It's a thing that like we're also probably never going to see again. I don't think we're going to see a Super Mario RPG 2 just because of rights things and how that would be tough. So it's a neat little snapshot in time to see this as well. If you're interested in it, I think it's a fun thing to play. It doesn't take too long. It's a good time. Um, and I think, yeah, if you can get this for, like, on, like, Virtual Console isn't there anymore, so I guess you're kind of stuck with whatever options you have. I'm sure physically it probably costs a lot of money. I think if you're really into RPGs, I think $30 isn't too bad. If you really like if you're a collector, you probably will pay a bit more, like 80 to 100 or something. Maybe might be. I don't know what the prices are going for nowadays. I would say about 20 to $30. That's probably where I would say this is maybe worth getting to check out, if you can, or if we get a release of it somewhere else at some point, that would be cool. But at this point, like I say, this review is probably coming out once these eShops are closed, so it's the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, or it's the actual physical game, or nothing at this point if you don't already have it, which is kind of a shame. So I do hope it comes in Nintendo Switch Online or something like that, or gets like a re-release in some capacity, so we can have that somewhere to just to play it some more. I think it would be cool. I think it would be fun. I think it will be a shame if this is a game that kind of starts falling to the wayside because of rights issues and like that sort of thing. And I'm glad I played it. And my plan is also absolutely to play Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, so I can have the nice trifecta of Mario RPG games, under my belt, and then see where it goes from there. I don't know if I'll play tons more, because like I say, I'm a little fickle with RPGs, but this is no Paper Mario, but this was fun. It was a nice time. I don't know, what do you guys think? Leave thoughts about things in the comments. But what was your team for most of the game? I mostly played as Mario, Bowser, and Geno, so I could hit things really hard and live, and I kept upping their power so they would hit things harder and have more defense to live longer. Until that didn't work. So, I don't know. That's all I had. That's good. Still can't really see the hat, but whatever. It was. I took a chance on the weird shot. It didn't pay off. Hopefully this episode's okay. I don't know. See ya.